Hello, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back. Happy Monday. Hope everyone's having a good start to the week. Happy Remembrance Day for Canadians, and then for Neil and the Americans, happy Veterans Day. Hope everyone's doing
Mhm.
well. Um, Guest-filled week again coming up here. We had I was lucky enough to talk to Anand last week, Flames supporter, and he's going through school and all that. And this week, later on, we're going to be joined by Jess from Locked On Flames. But today, we're joined by Emma, who was so graceful enough to come on and join us. So appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, crazy weekend. I mean, we saw these guys go on a bit of a road trip and all that. I tried to
Mhm.
watch as much games as we could, but we tried. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
We tried.
Neil, you doing good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Busy weekend. More on the Devil's side because they played on both Saturday and Sunday. I
Mhm.
was in attendance for last night's game against the Sharks. But I kept tabs of what was going on with the Flames during this road trip. I think overall, like, if I'm being honest, is kind of what I expected. I think
Well,
for the
well,
most
so
part.
like we'll get into it. We'll get into
Yeah.
it, but
But
I
no,
figure,
overall I'm good.
yeah, good.
Overall
That's
I'm
great.
good. Yes.
So figured we'll just kind of break it down. We'll talk about the news, obviously, from today. We'll quickly recap what happened on Saturday and the road trip. We'll go into an interview with Emma, and then we'll kind of talk about tonight's game and tomorrow night's game, I guess, too, because they're on a back-to-back. So sound good?
Back to back. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's dive right into it. Let's do it. So it was a pretty normal day going into game night tonight, and then we all of a sudden realized that Anthony Mantha is now done for the year. So
Mhm.
it was kind of weird because it happened last Tuesday against Montreal. He goes off with an injury that nobody really suspected, I guess, and it was very. It didn't seem apparent at first, but I guess after further testing, all of a sudden, it's an ACL injury, and now all of a sudden he's gone for the year. So I feel bad for the guy. It sucks for the Flames because you want to give this guy a chance. But I'll give Emma the first nod here on this one. Initial thoughts on Mantha now being gone for the year.
I just mean it sucks. He's slowed down a little bit after the start of the season, but just to have him out and for it to be a season-ending injury is crap for him, but also for the team and Jonathan Huberdeau as well. It was part of the reason he came in. But I mean, yeah, it's tough for everybody.
Yeah. It's tough I feel more bad for him,
Hmm.
because it's like for the Flames, you only had to give up, what was it, 1.3 mil or something around those lines.
Yeah.
And you give him the tryout basically for the year. And for him to kind of have this happen to him now, it's like, I feel more bad for him. And it does kind of hurt his career a little bit where you got a lot of these younger kids now catching up, not only within this lineup, but throughout the entire league. And you wonder how he's going to try to infiltrate himself into some other lineup,
Mhm.
through the rest of the league. Neil, what were your instant reactions?
Uh, the way that I look at it is this, and it's funny how whenever we start talking about a player, they start to get into the news, whether good or bad. Like if you think about it, Kyle, we were talking about Coronado and needing to get going a little bit more, and obviously he's been playing pretty well over the last couple of games. And then we were talking
And yeah,
about
we
Mantha,
we
and
blew that.
yeah, we blew that badly. But with Mantha, we were talking about he needed to get more, more involved in the play. He needed to push the pace a little bit more, and now none of that matters. With him being out for the year, and I mean it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal because he signed a 1 year deal, and it's an opportunity for him to try to showcase that he could still perform at a pretty high level. He's 30 years of age, so now once you get into your 30s, especially as a top six, kind of a bigger body player, as you guys mentioned, youth wise, there is a lot of youth, and there's a lot of opportunities for younger players to play, especially on a Flames team like this. I don't be surprised, especially if Mantha is healthy by whenever training camp starts for everybody next year. Don't be surprised if he ends up being a PTO option for somebody, because I think obviously
Yeah,
there's not enough body of work from this year
Mhm.
that can make any team probably feel comfortable giving him a fully guaranteed contract. I think you'll see a veteran team, maybe he goes back to Washington. Maybe Toronto looks at him next year. To all things considering, who knows?
yeah.
Um, just a team that's trying to maybe add a little bit more veteran presence on the top six. And yeah, I mean it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for the Flames. It's frustrating for Mantha. Um, certainly not the way you wanted his season to come to an end this early in the year.
It is. And again, I feel bad for him. And it's going to be tough because you probably now you probably won't see him on this team ever again, to be honest, because you're going to get a lot of these younger guys who are going to get more roles now. Like now with this, it's like more of an urgency to have Coronado in this lineup, especially with how well he's played recently. And, Klapka now getting recalled today. They sent Dryden Hunt down, I believe. So, again, they're going to get a lot. Now it's maybe a little bit of a blessing in disguise, as it's bad enough to say for some of these younger guys who maybe now it's an extra spot to now get filled. Right. But again, we'll see how the season goes. It just sucks. I feel bad for him mainly. And you kind of hope that he just rebounds from this, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, ultimately it just sucks at the end of the day. And there's nothing you can really do about it. So so hopefully Mantha's all good and he can come back to form pretty soon. But I figure we'll take a very quick recap on this little road trip here. So to give Emma a little bit of context, so we talked about it last week because they had their little bit of a road trip here. Mm-hmm. We said that, okay, they can probably go 2-1 on this road trip. If all goes according to plan, they can get 4 of 6 points.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And they did. Not in the way we anticipated, but they did, right?
Yeah.
So, and to just look back a little bit on the trip, didn't feel like they deserved against Montreal. They played well against Boston despite the loss, and then didn't start out well out of the gate against Buffalo on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So my question, I'll throw it to Emma here, is this. It's been talked about that there's been a lot of slow starts out of the gate for this team. So they've let in a goal in the first 3 minutes in the last 3 to 4 games in a row now. Mm-hmm. How concerning is it for this team going into tonight against a good Kings team and then tomorrow night for the Canucks and so on?
I mean, it helps the fact that they are coming back. They're pushing back. It's not an immediate drop, but it is a bit concerning, the fact that whether it is just a really slow start and you're not scoring until the second or third period like they did against New Jersey, but it's concerning that they're letting up so quickly in the beginning to have to put themselves in a position to come back the way that they are.
Right. Yeah. Neil, thoughts?
Yeah, obviously, when you look at this team over the last couple of games, it's frustrating to not come out of the gates playing with somewhat of a sense of urgency. I think that, it's one of those things where it kind of falls on the coaching staff. I think not pushing enough to get these guys to be focused in right away from the opening puck drop, hey, we got to get going. Because, look, there are teams out there that can find a way to win, even being down a goal or down 2, depending on who you are. But, 3/4 of the time, you're in a really tough spot if you're giving up a goal 2-3 minutes into the game. If you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball right away, you're creating a lot of problems. So for the Flames, they have to find a way to simplify things in the defensive end to not allow those openings right away. And, you need your goaltenders to make a save, on maybe a not so easy shot, regardless of the situation, because you want, you don't want to be in a position where you're already trailing, especially on the road. I think that was definitely something that played into a factor. And they started off slow against Buffalo. And look, no disrespect to the Sabres, who certainly have been playing better of late. But at the same time, I felt like the Flames could have given a lot better of an effort, even though they almost won the game anyway.
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement. Yes. And I think that it was just, I think you ended up tweeting about it, saying how frustrating.
What? No, I could never.
Right. It's not like you're the only one that has control to the account. Anyway, I think the game that was more. People might disagree, but the game that was more infuriating for me was the Boston game, because the Bruins. Yeah, because the Bruins collapsed, and that should have been. I feel like they should have won. I feel like they should have won. I felt like they deserved a better result in that game against Boston.
Okay, well, I have to look back on it eventually, but I did make a pretty stupid comment that I think I've now hidden in the Twitterverse, but we'll leave.
You probably have hidden it at this point, but I think overall it is funny how, Kyle, you and I were like, all right, let's get 4 to 6 points, thinking that they would end up 2-1-0, or whatever. And no, we're gonna win one of the games, then we're gonna get a point in each of the other. So at least the way you could look at it is, they're on a several game point streak. I mean, we can look at that and say, hey, we're getting points.
it didn't even like register that was like a possibility that could happen, and yet here we are, right?
That's how the Islanders play. This is by the way, in case you want a little preview, this is how the New York Islanders play every year. It's getting that point when they really didn't, when honestly they probably shouldn't have gotten one.
That's annoying. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Even for the team you're a fan of, very annoying.
So on the quick road trip, if you were to give a grade, just a quick grade for the team on this road trip, what would you give?
I mean,
It's tough to assess, but
yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't watch any of the games. I work during all of those games on this road trip. But
we don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say like a B purely because we got points in the end, and that's what matters.
I'm kind of in the same boat, to be honest. Yeah, like B/ like B minus, because you did feel like, as bad as it was, like they could have stolen all 6 points. That's the crazy thing, right? If it's not for a shootout, which sucks in the first place, and then they had their chances. Like Huberdeau, I don't know if you got a chance to see the replay in overtime against the Bruins, but Huberdeau had a great chance in front, and the knob of Korpisalo's stick like just got the puck, and it's like, man, we're talking inches here, and all of a sudden they take 6 points, right? Yeah. So the fact that they get that, and I think me and Neil alluded to it last week, like, you know, the biggest game in November coming up is tonight, and we'll definitely get into it. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably say around B minus. Neil, what do you think?
B minus, I would say. Yeah, it's just pretty much like you know, like Emma said, it you got points. You got points in every game. So you leave that little road trip only leaving 2 points behind, which is not the end of the world. And I think it's important for the Flames, who, you know, when last we spoke, you know, we were talking about, you know, how they had recently not been playing well. They got that win against New Jersey. And you were hoping that they would take a win like that and try to translate it into better play. And there have been times on this road trip where you saw better play and they got some good results. I think overall they won the Montreal game, which I think by all rights they should have won. The Boston game, I think, would have. I mean, considering where the Habs are.
That first period sucked. I don't know if you remember it at all.
No, the first period sucked, yes. But I'm saying, like, in terms of, like, on paper before the game started, by all intents and purposes, in my opinion, I think they were the better team.
Thank you, Coronado, for that.
Exactly. Coronado, and by the way, Coronado with an all-time celebration, I might add.
That was cool. That was pretty
great.
Cool.
Which is now also a wallpaper. The Flames decided to make that into a wallpaper.
I totally grabbed it.
Yeah, I grabbed it.
100% have it. It was kind of cool.
I was like, yeah, put this in the put this in the museum. But I think overall, like I said, B minus. You got 4 out of a possible 6 points, and you move, and hopefully you can translate that into more good performances starting tonight against the Kings on national TV, if you want to call it that.
Oh God,
I don't know if
watching that.
No, I'm just saying, like in Canada, is Prime considered national television?
Yeah,
that's not a criticism. I'm actually very curious.
I guess.
I
don't know.
Look at it from America's standpoint. Like Thursday Night Football is always on Amazon Prime, so that's considered national television.
Right.
Okay.
National television. So like that's what I like. I know like when I was watching the Devils, they were on Prime last week when they played Edmonton, and I was like, we're really making this into a big deal, huh?
Like, I don't know. I guess you would. I don't know. I guess I didn't really think of it like that. I don't know. For me, like, it's probably not national, but it's like Saturday Night Hockey, right? Like, that to me is like for when they used to air it on CBC and whatever. Like, that to me felt national, but I guess that's only Canadian, really. So I don't know. Maybe it is.
Enough. No, that's fair.
We'll see who tunes in tonight for that one. All right, I'll roll through these ads and then we'll move on to a fun interview. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck is dropping on the 2024-25 season. You can get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-time users to get started. You can try betting on something simple like picking a team to win and go to DraftKings Sportsbook app to select your team and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. You can new customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. It's only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Also sponsored by Game Time. I've alluded to Neil before, but I'm excited to go back to a game in February, even though Neil's gone to so many games already, and I'm
including last
assuming
night.
that Emma's probably gone to a game or two already. I'm excited to make a trip out to Calgary in February and to get a chance to go see these guys again. It's always a nice, fun adventure to do so, and it's nice to go through Game Time. You can go through Game Time picks, which helps filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks helps curate it to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. It's all in pricing. You can toggle the feature to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. It also gives you the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account using code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code THPN for $20 off. You just create an account and redeem the code. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
It's game time. Oh, and
Okay.
by the way,
Hey, thank you.
shout out to Game Time.
That never happens.
Literally like a minute ago, Game Time actually just sent me a notification that Colts and Jets for the NFL tickets have dropped 24% over the last 7 days.
Wow.
I can't imagine why. But yeah, shout out to Game Time also for these. I like that they give you a percentage of how much ticket prices have gone down.
It's unbelievable. We did a post today for Game Time. It was like Stars Penguins. You can get, and it's in US, right? But you can get it for like $13 for a ticket. And then I go ahead and look at games because we want to see Colorado in Calgary in was that February, and it's like $67 is the lowest ticket. I'm like, this is stupid. I hate this. It's not bad, but it's just annoying. That's all it is. Cool. So let's jump into it. We don't know much about Emma, but I'm assuming that we're going to know a lot more about Emma as soon as we're done with today. So I guess firstly, like from initial interaction, you know, obviously we're grateful that you're on the show and that it's awesome. So I believe you're an intern, correct?
Yeah, so I interned with a company called Sports Girls Club.
Okay.
And I've been doing that since May of last year. And yeah, I'm a writer for them. So I've been covering mainly hockey and soccer, but I do a lot of interviews with them as well. So
nice. Is there I guess maybe it was going to be my first question. Like, how did it all kind of get started with like this Flames fandom a little bit? Like, is there an inspirational story that happened? Did it just happen because you're just living there, like the hometown kid, or was there more to it?
I mean, really it is just the fact that I'm from here. It's my dad is a huge Flames fan. Right. So I really only ever had that avenue of becoming a Flames fan growing up. So I mean, my grandparents were huge fans as well, and my dad grew up throughout the, like, he was alive for the Stanley Cup and everything. And I didn't become a huge fan until about the last like 5 years. I've always been going to games and everything, but it's not until about the last 5 years where I've really gotten into sports in general and doing what I do now.
Got it. Nice. It's kind of, I mean, it's good timing because it feels like that's when it really started to happen anyway, where you can get a lot of these newer faces to like get introduced into the game, right? So that's great. So now that you're interning as a writer, is there some end goal, or not an end goal, but is there like a bigger aspiration that you kind of envision that you want to be like going forward?
Yeah. So I'm in school right now for journalism.
Oh, great.
And I want, at the end of this, I want to be a sports journalist, really, whether that's in the NHL or in the CPL in Canada or in the Premier League in England, like just something like that. That's the end goal, is just working in sports. Nice.
Just in general. I know, I feel like everybody's in the same thing where you talk to everybody and it's like, I just want to be in it. I don't even care what it is at this point, right? Yeah. And I mean, like, just speaking for myself, like that was kind of the thing too, right? You just wanted to be involved. And Neil, you can probably say the same thing, right? Like you just wanted to be involved in it in some sort of capacity. That's great. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of is there something that I guess within the program that you're looking forward to that you haven't done yet? Or is there something that you've experienced already that you're kind of cherishing already as you kind of go into your journalism career?
Yeah. I mean, with the program that I'm in, everything is so right now. You never really look to what's going to happen or like what the opportunities you're going to get are. But I'm only in my second year and I've already done so much more than I could have thought that I'd do in the 4 years, whether that be like the projects I've worked on or the people that I've talked to or the interviews that I've done are like I'm already at a level that I didn't imagine myself to be at until after I graduated.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can kind of speak to it a little bit. Like when you just go through, I did the boring thing, like just going through university with a basic business program, even though like everybody went through the sports program, right? Like sometimes that's not always the path, right? And I guess it kind of reminds me maybe of a story, if I can pass along to maybe help a little bit too. And I don't know if I've told you this, Neil, at all, but I went through a course in my last year's schooling, and it was basically like it kind of helped with like public speaking, and it was these case competitions, right? And so you got like you basically what happens is it's every Wednesday, and you get like 3 hours. You get this case, right? Whether it be within sports journalism or sports marketing, or if it was just finance, whatever it was, right? And you were given it, you read it, you analyze it, and then you present it in front of a panel of a professor, whether it be like a board member or whoever, right? And you just go. And so I got like halfway through it, and it's like, man, like I don't know if I can do this anymore. And it felt so rewarding to stay in it afterwards because I got a chance to go out to Edmonton and do a case competition out there. I don't know if you're familiar, like the ANPA. I don't know if it rings a bell or not, maybe. Anyway, but like I think moral of the story for that is just that you gain so much confidence, and it's like you've done so much already that it kind of just flies by and you don't even realize it, right? So if I ever were to like preach to people like, hey, like if you get a chance to see like classes like that, I really urge it just because it's such a good life skill to have, and it really does help you kind of along the way. So it's kind of nice that like it's, you know, you go through that a little bit, and then it's like, holy crap, like I'm 2 years into this already, and you're like, what the hell is going on already, right? Is there something that you are kind of looking forward to maybe in your third, or if it's a 4-year program?
Yeah, so it's a 4-year degree that I'm in, but I think really is just like the connections you make, which is like huge. It is like drilled into your brain that the connections you make during this program are what's going to get you out of it.
Right.
Because like it's not a specific, like I'm not in a specific sports journalism degree. I'm just in journalism. But when I center everything that I'm doing around sports, it gives me that avenue to reach out to people and like connect with the Flames and stuff. Like I've done stuff with them and the Wranglers and just teams in the city, but also people outside of it. So I think I'm just looking forward to the connections that I get to make through it.
It's the connections and the bridges that you build, right? And I think for you, like it's such a good market to be in for that, right? Because you are kind of in the middle of nowhere, which is still nice, right? But it's good because it develops those connections even more, right? And it's like it really becomes like door to door, so to speak. Whereas, you know, Neil, you're New Jersey, New York, it's like it's all there, right?
It's all here, yeah. It's a lot of competition in this area for sure.
And Neil, I know like you spoke of it kind of too, where it's like you have like different, completely different avenue too, and like you talk about like the different, like it's the good and bad side of it, right? With being in a big market like yourself.
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's a lot of you know, with living in, you know, I'm fortunate enough to live in the New York, New Jersey area. So like, you know, you were mentioning Kyle, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of different teams to look at. There's a lot of different sports, you know, to cover. And I think what makes it hard is trying to find, you know, everybody trying to find their niche, you know, what makes them, you know, stand out amongst everyone else. And, you know, the crazy thing I think I can speak to about sports media nowadays is that it's so in flux. We don't know where it's going. We don't know how one can get these full-time opportunities anymore. Yeah, there's still the typical, you know, there's a job, you put out your resume, you submit an application, yada, yada, yada. It's not as concrete anymore with that. I can speak for myself. Working here at THPN, it wasn't through the typical means. It was talking to one of the original owners on Twitter. And I got an opportunity, and I've had it ever since. And it's about building those connections. And I think the most important thing that I would tell anybody is it's not just about building the connections. It's about staying true to your personal integrity and being kind to everybody, because the kinder you are to people, the more likely they're going to want to help you in the long run, because it makes them feel good that they're
Mhm.
helping someone else who truly is good and is a great person to go out and continue to have the success. That's how I've built around my success, just being true to myself. And that would be the biggest piece I would give to you, Emma, and to just anybody that's listening,
Mhm.
that it's important. I do have one very like non-hockey question for Emma, because I think you
Oh
said you
God.
also cover the NWSL, correct?
I don't cover them, but I pay attention a lot to like just soccer in general.
Okay,
Christine
fair enough.
Sinclair.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
Christine. Okay, all right, you Canadians. All right, that's enough of that. Anyway, we're through the first round of the NWSL playoffs. We just had a crazy game yesterday where Gotham, essentially came back and won, or not came back, but won literally at the very end. 2-1 to move on to the next round. What is what is your overall like feelings about not just this year's playoffs, but just how much women's sports in general has grown over the last couple of years? Because as somebody who covered the New York Liberty this year in the WNBA, and looking at how much attention that got, how much attention the NWSL is getting, the PWHL with their new uniforms coming out last
Mhm.
week, and the next season coming around, and it was a big success. What do you attribute? What are some of the things that you attribute to how much women's sports in general has grown over the last couple of years?
I mean, it's hard to pinpoint because it's nothing that we've done has really changed. It's just people have we've put it out there so much that you kind of have to see it, and you have to be aware of what's going on because it's growing so much. And like,
Jesus,
I
what
know
was that?
I live on the busiest street in the city. I swear to
About
God.
to say, I actually was about
There
to yell
goes
at
Vin
Kyle. I thought
Diesel.
that was Kyle's
Yeah.
fault. I was about to be like, way to go, Kyle.
Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No.
Boom.
So I think it's really just like you have to be aware of it now because there's no getting around it because of how much it's been pushed out, which is a
Mhm.
good thing because things are growing so much. Like we're finally getting a professional women's soccer league in Canada, which like for the World Cup, we were one of I think 3 countries that didn't have one. And we've won Olympic gold, we've won bronze, like we're there. We just never had a home ground to stay at.
Like a
So
platform, yeah.
yeah, so
Mhm.
I think that just it being it people just needed to see it, and people can see it now with how social media has gone, and people wanting it to be known. And that's I think what attributes it to, because there are like girls club that I work for started as just really covering women's sports,
Yeah.
and we've grown, and I cover all sort of stuff. And so I think it's just that it's out there now and people are forced to see it, and it's not going anywhere.
I think the
And I
biggest
think,
thing. Sorry, go
no,
ahead, Neil. Yeah, yeah.
I was just going to say that, the thing that has stood out to me over the last couple of years watching as much women's sports as I have is that there's just a different, I've always said this, there's a different environment when you go to women's professional sports, or just women's sports in general,
Mhm.
where I think, honestly, there is more emphasis on things being fun. As funny as that might sound to people, I
Mhm.
think it's more of just you get an overall like fun vibe. Like every time I've gone to a New York Liberty game, regardless of who they are playing, I have an absolute blast. Like it's so much fun to be there. It's so much fun to be surrounded by other people that are as interested as you are in the sport and in
Mhm.
the team itself. I've been to Gotham games, Gotham FC and the NWSL. It's been awesome. PWHL. I was, I watched. I was even when the Metropolitan Riveters were around. Um, I tried to stay as focused on them as I possibly can, and I think overall you're seeing professional athletes becoming much bigger in women's sports. You talk about Caitlin Clark and how much her popularity has grown into helping the WNBA and things like that. But I think it's also fair to mention that with the growth of women's sports also comes the growth of women journalists, women reporters, women, sports media personalities. And Emma, is there anyone in particular as a women's reporter or, media personality, or whomever, that you look at as like an idol or really just like stands out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, Olivia McDonald, who works for the Canucks right now, I was lucky enough when she worked in Calgary. She covered the Wranglers and she did some stuff with the Flames. She was one of the first people I ever did an interview with professionally, and I've been lucky enough to still talk to her and like develop a friendship with her. But she's been like a huge role model for me in just terms of her professionalism, but also what she does. She doesn't just cover, like, she knows everything. She knows lacrosse, she knows the AHL, she knows the NHL, and our career paths aren't the same. She took different programs than me, but we went to the same school. So we had the same professors. When I met her, like, she's like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is," because we did the same thing. So she's just been a huge inspiration for me in terms of just everything, really.
Love that.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely like Neil was mentioning it too. Like it's not only excitement, but like curiosity too. That's starting to settle in, right? And also those PWHL jerseys are pretty nice.
I may or may not have already bought one, by the way.
Of course you did. Which one did you buy? Oh, stupid question.
Are you really asking which one did I buy? I'm sorry, Kyle. But which team is going to be playing at the Prudential Center this year?
Yeah,
oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a dumb question.
Kyle, never ask that again. Don't.
I know. It's been rough. I know. Yeah, no, that's. I know, no excuses. That's great. So I mean, and then so kind of bringing it back a little bit. Is there one? You've probably gone to some Flames games into some capacity over the last couple of years. Are there any sort of good memories that kind of stick out for when you've gone to a game recently?
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation with my dad the other day, because I think a lot of people will always assume that your like best memories are from like the biggest games of the season. And when we weren't in the playoffs and everything, like there weren't really those big games. But I mean, one of my favorites was, I think it was 2 years ago, it was the last game of the season against San Jose. And it was when Dustin Wolf and Matt Coronado made their NHL debuts.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for warm-ups. I was watching it, and I was really just sitting there looking at everything like going around me and watching all these kids watch this happening, like this debut and everything in warm-ups. And I was just really thinking about like how fortunate I was to be able to be there watching that game and being there for just and working and everything. That was, I think, one of my favorite moments of just being like, this is what I get to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been to so many games the last 2-3 years than I had in like before ever. But I mean, I was there for this Pittsburgh game we just had, or went to shootout. I was like, I'm watching Sidney Crosby and everything. And people are booing him. I'm just sitting there next to my dad going, this is insane. People are booing this man. But I mean, I get it.
It's the passion, man.
It's the passion. But I'm sitting there going, I feel like this is wrong to boo him. I feel like I'm going against.
No, screw that. This is hockey, man.
I got it on video. I was like, this is the last time I'll ever see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like the small games are really my favorites, just because you get to really be involved in everything that's going on. Car again.
Sick.
There goes Vin Diesel again.
No, can we clip that and just make like a catchy title for it later?
I'll have like the little animated car. I'll have like Vin Diesel.
Yeah, just every time.
Like Lightning McQueen. You have to have like a small Lightning McQueen, just like run like.
Yeah, just across the screen.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just like interactions you have at games.
For sure.
As well, so
yeah. It is the small things, right? Like for me, it was like, I remember it was like my second game I've ever been at the Saddle Dome, and I was 18, and that's the drinking age, right? Yeah. So we like sat there, and my dad was like, I know, right? So we sat there like, and my dad's at second intermission, my dad's like, hey, look up on the screen, and that's where you type in like the happy birthday thing. And so I was like, oh, cool. And we had guys sit beside us they were like, oh, cool, you're 18? And I'm like, yeah, I just turned 18. They're like, cool, I'm getting you a beer. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Sounds good. They're so
Do you
friendly
remember
there
what
too.
beer it was, Kyle?
Oh God, no.
Was it a Molson Canadian? Not being stereotypical at all.
Probably not. It was probably something cheap.
Labatt Blue.
A dome foam.
But
the heck
I can't wait.
That?
I can't wait to go back in February because I love kokanee.
Oh.
It's not the same here in Ontario. It's just not. It's not it.
Speaking another language right now.
Go look it up. Go look it up, Neil.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good beer. I know everybody's not a beer drinker, but it's a good one.
I'm a beer drinker.
Nice. So then I guess last one to kind of wrap up the interview section of it then, unless Neil had any more. Any sort of, what are your, I know we're about a quarter of the way through the season, I guess now. Any sort of expectations for this team going forward a little bit as we're getting into November, December-ish and kind of the midway mark through the year?
To be honest, I think they've done exactly how I was expecting them to, which might be a little controversial from a lot of people. I mean, I wasn't somebody that went into this season thinking we were just going to be like tanking the whole time, as a lot of people thought we were going to. So I think I think where we are right now is where I expected us to be. And I just think like keeping on the track that we're going and picking up the points in games that are probably not deserved sometimes, but it's a good thing to be getting those points. And I think just carrying on how we're playing right now, just picking up a little piece, like cleaning up some things is where I'm expecting us to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's funny, like we even talked about it before the season started, like Ryan Huska, and even like when you watch the Chase episodes as well, he's going to make these guys earn it every single night. Like this isn't a team that's just going to roll over and die. And you're right. Like this is exactly how we're kind of seeing it so far through the season. And I'm very curious now what the reaction is going to be on the ice now that you don't have Anthony Mantha anymore. Now it's the next man up mentality, right? And maybe this is the dawn of a new era for Coronado where he decides that I'm going to take this spot and run with it kind of thing, because this is a true opportunity for him and for some of the other guys who will get an opportunity as well too to play further into the season. So
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the fact that we have, like, he has to know he's not the only one like gunning for that position, because we have such a good AHL team to pull from, that it's not just him. Like you have a Honzik, you have Dryden Hunt, you have like all of
Sam
these guys.
Morton too, who had a good preseason.
Sam Morton's done unreal right now. Rory Cairns is really good as well. Just like all of he had like, there's never a room to settle with this team because you know that your position can be on the line.
And it's nice that Craig Conroy is still on track, right? There was rumblings last week where he's still making phone calls about a potential centerman because their face-off percentage has been so terrible this year that he's still looking to fill the role without giving too many assets of the future away. So, he's sticking to the plan and just being patient. And I think that's the important thing right now at this point in the year. It's really good to see. Any more interview questions, Neil, that you had before we move on to tonight?
I'm surprised neither one of you mentioned AHL Player of the Week, Devin Cooley, by the way. Like, nobody...
There's a lot of things we have to keep track of, okay?
But that was significant. Is that not significant to anyone?
No, it is. It's good.
Or is it just because I want to toot my own horn that I was saying Devin Cooley was going to be a good signing, and he's been a good signing?
Do you want to talk about it? You can go ahead and talk about it.
I just said it. I just said what I wanted to say.
No, I agree. He's done well. And
he has done really well.
Too. He's so nice.
He is, yeah. But didn't he have like some funny thing too that he posted or it was like something last week? I don't know if it was something he posted or something he did. Or I think it's just the way he talks like in the interview segments. Yeah, maybe it was that.
He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy. Perfect. No, that's awesome. I figure we'll kind of wrap it up because we do have a big game tonight, and I'm going to try and get this out before the game tonight because it makes sense. Prime time, yeah. So we got, big game going on tonight. Divisional one, always important. Flames are going to be at home against the Kings tonight, and they're going to be on a back-to-back as they head into Vancouver again tomorrow, because we all know what happened at the beginning of the year for that one. That was fun. I was live for that one on our THPN thing, and that was our wildest game of the year, and that was game one. It was unbelievable. Thank you again, everybody, for coming out. That was a lot of fun. But I wanted to bring this up beforehand. Kind of transitions a bit into tonight. They were talking about it on Flames Talk today about Connor Zary, specifically with like the center position, right? So they bring it up like, okay, well, at this point, like he's been such a dynamic player in the terms of like he's on a 60 game point pace right now, right? So as mentioned here by Pat Steinberg, who's 10 out of 10, he's one of your most dynamic forwards, one of your best puck carriers. Sharon Govich is better on the wing from what we've seen, and Pospisil has been up and down a little bit, right? costly offensive zone penalties. He's just been up and down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Big question here. If you were the lineup manager going into tonight, would you be inclined now, especially with Mantha now gone for the foreseeable future long term, to put Zari in that center position, in that center role, and who would you match him up with? Emma, I'll start with you.
Honestly, I think it could go to one of two ways. With such young players, changing them around like this might not affect them because they're easy to adapt and everything like that. But I think keeping him where he is right now is probably the best way to go about it, just because of how well he's done so far. And keeping him like with the same line mates is good, and just like not affecting what he's got going on right now, his groove that he's in, is probably the best way to go about it. Just keeping him where he is and building around him probably.
Yeah, like him. I was thinking him alongside maybe Coronado, because the young guys are seemingly what's carrying this team right now. And that's the crazy part, right? Like Coronado tied on the team in goals, and, Zari with the kind of dynamicness that he has to him, if that's a word or not. What do you make, Neil, if they decide that maybe Zari's the man to go at center?
I kind of want to. I really agree with what this guy Matt said in the bottom right corner. That it's literally the time to try it. Because of the Mantha news. I mean, this is about as perfect of a time as you could think of, where Zari's been playing really well. By the way, I found out that it's Zari, not Zari. I've been saying it wrong for the past several episodes, so I don't know. I didn't know that. But he's been playing really, really well, and from somebody who watched Sharon Govich play for a couple of years in New Jersey, I do agree completely that Sharon Govich is way better as a winger than he is a center. His faceoffs have gotten better, ? But he's not a center. He's a winger. That's his primary position. I think playing him with Zari would be a really, really good combination because of the speed that they both can bring. And I think that they both possess similar skills in terms of having that type of wrist shot that you need to be a productive guy that can average 5-6 shots a game on goal. I think this is the time. And especially with the back-to-back starting tonight against LA, I think they should rock with it. I think they should give it a shot. You got to find a way to get more offense, especially now that you've lost Mantha. Like, there's got to, and you can't just keep calling up more guys from the AHL, to kind of put them into tough situations here, playing in the top six, because we already know how things have gone when trying to shove young players into the top six. But with Zari, I think it's time. I think it's a really good time to give it a shot.
And you mentioned it, like, maybe that'd be nice to see if you are looking for a bit of that speed and dynamicness. Like, you can have maybe Sharon Govich, depending on what side he's good on the left, for example, here. Zari up the middle, Coronado on the right. Yeah. Whether we like that or not,
I like that.
I'll leave it up to you guys. The dead silence really said a lot there.
No, I had to think about it for a second, because I actually like that a bit more.
It's not bad, because I think, like, now it's all of a sudden with Mantha gone, if you're Huskin crew, you're like, crap, well, a part of our plan's out the window. Now we have to, like, scramble a little bit here and see what works. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, what goes into the game plan, going into tonight. And even tomorrow, too, because you're on a back-to-back, because Dustin Wolf's going to start, and then I imagine Vladar is going to get the net tomorrow night.
Imagine, yeah.
Last thing here. Is it fair to say that, now that I bring up Wolf and Vladar, is it fair to say that they've really held it together for this team since the beginning of the season? Yeah.
Yep.
Like, the way, like, so Neil, you brought up real quick, like, last week on Tuesday against Montreal, that whole first period was dominated by Montreal. And the only reason they had 16 shots on net or something silly like that. And Wolf was making miraculous saves to keep them in it. So they had no business being in that game. Whether that gives me confidence or not going forward is great. I don't know. And Emma, me and Neil talked about this before, early on in the season, where we really like the fact that, okay, they're keeping them healthy too a little bit, where it's like, okay, you start Wolf tonight. Okay, he's got a couple of days off. Okay, you'll do Vladar tonight. And it's like that 1A, 1B system that's working really well. My last question here is it sustainable? for the entire season.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to obviously like predict that, but
Always.
I think with the way that they've been playing, it can be. It's just the way that we play in front of them that will determine that, I think. Just because if you are having Dustin Wolf being the reason you're staying into a game because of how bad of a first period it is, you're tailing along for the rest of the game. That might not be the most sustainable thing going forward, but if they keep playing the way that they are and the team keeps improving going forward, it could be sustainable and it could be beneficial for everybody.
It's possible. Yeah. But we'll see what happens tonight. Maybe they won't let a goal in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game. We'll see what happens. I was supposed to go to the game on Saturday in Buffalo. I'm kind of happy that I didn't because I would have threw a fit the first like 2 minutes. I would have been pissed.
Lovely.
But yeah, so anyway, I say we'll wrap it up with that. Emma, thank you so much for doing this with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome to come on whenever you like. Just shoot us a message, and if you want to jump on, just let us know. We're always happy to kind of chat, rant, and be rageful.
Yeah.
That's how it normally goes. But yeah, like best of luck still going forward with your program. I'll leave you with last words. Anything like you want to promote or, you know, for your socials or anything like that for yourself.
I mean, nothing much. And still, I've got lots going on still for everything with girls club and school and everything. But
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I go to a lot of hockey games. So if anybody is ever at the Saddle Dome, I'm probably there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Give her a wave. Maybe you should make a big sign.
I do.
Oh, do you really? Nice.
I go down for warm-ups, but I'm always on the other side for warm-ups just because.
Oh, like for the opposing team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
When you don't see them,
It's easier to get down there.
It's so much easier. Unless you're going to a Toronto game, you're SOL. But
can you be like, man, you know what you have to do one time now because it's now a trend? Like you have to wear an opposing team's jersey that night if you have it and hope that Rasmus Anderson scores and just sit there in front.
Honestly, yes, that's what I want to do.
I would love to get stare down from him. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. That was great, by the way.
I love that.
It's a lot of fun. What's the best poster that you've made?
I've only made I made one for the Devils.
Here we go.
I made one for the Devils game.
Oh, I'm gonna get a kick out of this one.
And it said, I was so excited about it, and then things went wrong. But it said NHL equals Nico Hischier League. I was very excited.
Okay,
because he was tied for goals.
I was already confused, but sure, I got it.
I was behind the bench, and everybody was laughing at me, whatever. Nate Bastian saw it, laughed at me, but agreed with me. And then I tossed it out, but I felt very good about myself because I got somebody acknowledged my words.
You got a reaction.
And then Longberg put Bastian to sleep.
Yeah, and we don't talk about that part. We don't talk about that part. Yeah.
Wow.
He now is out like multiple weeks with a broken jaw, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm still recovering from that one.
I will
one of the most boring games I have watched all year. There was nothing going on for 55 minutes.
That was a tough watch, but I'll always remember Longberg post game afterwards and the animal that he is.
Nothing but underwear.
Yep.
I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Bro, him in beer leagues. I swear, he plays in beer leagues in the offseason. I swear, that's exactly what he looks like in the locker room.
I feel like he would show up to a beer league game.
Yeah, he probably would.
Awesome. Thanks again for doing this, Emma. Again, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. Just let us know. And that'll wrap it up for us today. We'll be back again on Thursday with another guest, and we'll be recapping whatever happens tonight and tomorrow, and we'll get everybody ready for Nashville, I think, later this week. So thanks again, Emma. Neil, as always, thank you for doing this whenever you have time. And we'll chat to everybody soon, and hope everybody has a great night.
Perfect.
Later.
Peace.
Thank you.